Being outside is good for us. It's that simple. And trails make it easy for us to walk, bike, and be active outside in our own backyards. On the trail, we see people moving, connecting with their communities, making the places where they live great. For 40 years, Rails to Trails Conservancy has led the way, creating trails across the country, making it safer and easier for everyone to get outside. They want you to get involved. Find your trail and start your journey today at railstotrails.org/iHeart and follow at Rails to Trails on social.
The Murder Shelf Book Club contains disturbing content related to real-life crimes. Listener discretion is advised.
Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
To the Murder Shelf Book Club podcast. I am your host, Jill. So, Gary Ridgway, he is notoriously known as the Green River Killer, and he is one of the most prolific serial killers in the United States. Now, you may recall, I covered this case back in episodes 59 to 62. Gary Ridgway, he confessed to murdering in the Seattle-Tacoma area of Washington State 49 women between 1982 and 1998. Although he has indicated killing more than 70 and is suspected of maybe 80 or 90 murders. Typically, he lured his victims into his truck, strangled them, and disposed of their bodies in remote or wooded areas. Now, although he was a suspect in early 1982, he eluded capture for nearly 20 years. He was finally arrested in November 2001 after advancements in DNA testing linked him to 4 earlier victims. In 2003, Ridgway entered a plea agreement to avoid the death penalty, confessing and agreeing to help investigators locate the remains of missing victims. He was sentenced to 48 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. And he later received a 49th life sentence when another victim, 14-year-old Wendy Stevens' remains, were identified in 2011. Well, after all of these events, Gary Ridgway became notably quiet. But there is a new book by crime journalist Maria DiLorenzo, Confessions of the Green River Killer, a true story of manipulation, madness, and the search for justice. It outlines Maria's correspondence and conversations with Ridgway over a span of more than 2 years. This was not an easy task, letting a serial killer into your life, and I asked Maria about this. She had to carefully earn Gary's trust, which required significant patience and tolerance for his grotesque personal insights and his life philosophy. Now, Ridgway stands as one of the most notorious outliers in human behavior. Now, in this profile, Confessions of the Green River Killer, Maria delves into Ridgway's mindset, his attempts to manipulate and deceive, while she is working to identify new victims in the hope of bringing justice decades later. So imagine looking at your phone and seeing that Gary Ridgway is calling you. Right? How would that make you feel? If you want to explore the psyche of the serial killer in detail, this is the book for you. So today, Maria DiLorenzo is joining me for a special episode. So a little bit about Maria. She earned her MFA in English and Creative Writing from Hunter College. And for several years, she contributed to the Crime Report. But in 2020, she founded the website Beyond the Crime, which shares firsthand interviews with individuals incarcerated for murder, aiming to gain a deeper understanding into the criminal mind. So be sure to check out her site, Beyond the Crime. And I, of course, have a link on my blog at www murdershelfbookclub.com. Maria's work in true crime has been featured in podcasts, documentaries, and an appearance on ABC's 2020. So let me welcome Maria DiLorenzo to the Murder Shelf Book Club podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Oh, I am so glad to talk to you after reading this book. This book is a lot.
It is. It is. Yeah, it is really intense, horrifying at times, but I think also equally fascinating.
No question about it.
Yeah.
The way I kind of viewed it was, well, I've always been fascinated with serial killers. I want to know what makes them tick.
Right.
And I've covered Gary Ridgway.
Yes.
I did the book by Penny Wood.
Yes. I listened to that episode years ago. I found it in the midst of my research because I read that book obviously as part of my research, which he actually he didn't recommend it, but he was like, oh, my ex-wife, whatever, wrote this or had someone write this book, and he told me about it. So
that's interesting. I really want to hear what he had to say. I knew he was a monster. I knew he was awful. Really getting into his head and really wanting to know what he thought. Now I've got to think, do I really ever want to know? Because you did it. I mean, you pulled all the layers of the onion back and just kept exposing him. Mm-hmm. And it really was horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say every day when I got to that point of communication with him where he was calling me every day, it really became overwhelmingly horrifying. But again, I mean, the psychology behind it, which, that's something that I'm really interested in. And that's, I feel at the core of this book. It's not just what is he telling me? It's what is it revealing about his mind? And so that always interested me too. So as much as he was telling me these really horrific things, and a lot of the times coming up with awful fantasies about me, placing me as a character within these fantasies that he had, I also understood that it was revealing a truth about him. Even if he didn't think that he was giving me a truth, it was extremely insightful into just how he thinks about women, especially because just how he harmed women, right? And, the violence and, just how heinous his crimes were against women. I feel in what he was telling me and how he was including me in these fantasies, I think really kind of showed this is his true feelings about women.
There's always that thought that possibly he was regretful. If you remember, during one of the victim impact statements, he started to cry.
Right.
And being normal, we go, oh, that little hopeful, maybe he does feel, no, he doesn't.
No, I think at times he came off conflicted, maybe where he knew what he did was wrong, right? And he could admit that. And he would tell me that too. He's where he's supposed to be in prison. And basically telling me if he ever got out, he would, just go and commit the same crimes. And that's why it was good he was in prison. So in that sense, there was acknowledgement, but I don't know if that equates to true remorse. I don't think so, because a lot of the time, even though I would have these conversations with him and sometimes he would seem he would say things oh, why am I like this? And, why did I do these? Kind of that type of conversation. But then it always came back to what the woman did to him, or he would try and justify it in some way. So I just feel there's just no true sense of remorse. Maybe at times I think there's maybe he shows glimpses of it, but I don't think it's real or has much depth. After my conversations with him, I don't think he's capable of it.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. The way he is expressing what he would like to do. Mm-hmm. Again, women are this abstraction.
Yeah.
They're these toys. When he talked about various body parts with you.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, girl. He got into vaginal warts.
Oh, yeah. He was obsessed with anything pertaining to STDs because he had contracted so many, right, in his life.
Well, think.
Right. And so he was obsessed with it. And again, like blaming the woman, like it's the woman's fault. And look what they did to me. And they deserve to, like, like they deserve to be punished, right, for these STDs that they're giving men. Meanwhile, like I remember saying to him one time, like, did you ever think of using a condom? And he was just like, oh, well, they break. And like he was just like, he had an excuse for everything. It was always, the woman's fault. But, and, he even said to me too, like, he has no feeling for people. He said, I just have no feeling, and he doesn't know why. And part of me, like, when he said that, I felt almost like sorry for him. Like, I would feel like moments of like where I had, some sort of sympathy for him, because I just think that's a sad existence, in my opinion.
Oh, it's very empty. And listen, he's driven by demons. And I don't think he could control himself either. He is all about controlling.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Well, he was getting older too. I go back and forth on as he's aging, starts killing less. Then he's married to Judith for 16 years. Is he controlling himself, or is his libido drop? I think it's his libido drop.
I think it's a combination of both. So there's a lot of misconception with that as well, where I feel like there is like a narrative that has kind of come like in the center, like whenever you hear like media covering the story that, oh, well, he stopped killing when he was married to Judith, or it slowed down, or, oh, well, he really loved her. I don't believe that's true, just based off of like what I found out. So like not even in my conversations with him, but just what I found out through looking through almost 9,000 pages of his interrogation. And in a lot of what he told police, he admitted like he had never stopped. Like even if he wasn't killing the woman, because he wouldn't kill all of them, he had regulars that he would go to. He was still visiting prostitutes throughout his entire marriage to Judith and all of his other marriages too. So I don't think it had anything to do with love. I think it was a matter of time, convenience, and his mood. I think those were the three factors as to whether or not he was going to kill. That doesn't mean, he was still cheating on her.
Oh, absolutely.
Cheated on her a lot. He had all these regulars he was going to, women that he wasn't killing. So this was before work, sometimes after work, the nights of the union meetings. And there was even something that he admitted in his interrogation. He had said, well, one time she had found another woman's underwear in his truck and was just like, oh, where did this come from? And like demanded to know. This is in my book too. And he like made the excuse, oh, I found it in the driveway and I was just cleaning up or whatever. She was like, well, get rid of it now. So I think there were a lot of red flags that maybe she either overlooked or didn't want to believe it. I don't know. I don't know what it was because aside from that, he did give her, I think, a decent life in the sense that she was provided for. They had a nice house. They went on vacations, stuff like that. And he was home every night when he was supposed to be. That's the thing. Like, he would like leave earlier for work than he had to and tell her, oh, he's going to go grab breakfast or he's going to read the newspaper or whatever, right, before work. She, I think, believed him in that sense. But there were also, I think, a lot of other red flags that maybe I think when you love someone so much, like you don't want to believe that about somebody. Even like 2 weeks before his final arrest, he was arrested for solicitation.
Yes.
Even then, she like believed his bullshit. He, I think there were a lot of things. And then you also have to think, the biggest thing for me is, so in 1987, before they were married in 88, he was a suspect in the Green River murders.
Yes.
And his house was searched and she still married him, right? So like, I often wonder, if I was in that position as a woman and say someone I was about to marry was a suspect in the serial killer murder case, like, I don't know if I would still marry that. Like, it's just,
Yeah, I think there was a lot of naivete there.
Absolutely.
And Gary was a better husband to her
Yes.
than her first husband.
Yeah.
So her coming off a rather abnormal childhood
Mm-hmm.
and then going through this terrible first marriage.
Right.
And she meets this man who takes her line dancing and they
Right.
go out and have conversation and he's home every night. And the
Right.
police suspected of him of this, and then they let him go.
Right.
Obviously it wasn't him. I can see how you can talk yourself into that.
I think, yeah. I mean, but then I think also his personality after communicating with him for a couple years and just seeing how he is. And then like also I looked at a lot of the witness statements from his ex-girlfriends, his other ex-wives, and like just kind of like looking to see like how does he treat women in relationships? And a lot of them were saying the same things. Like he was a poor communicator. All he wanted was food and sex and take care of the house. And it's not like he's a person who has much depth. And I don't think he was that person to Judith either. I really don't. I think she was just kind of maybe content with the fact that, again, like coming from this like really horrible first marriage. And Gary, on paper, he looked decent. Okay, maybe he's not the best communicator. He doesn't, express emotion. He's not, because these were reasons like other women broke up with him. But he has a job. He is able to afford a house, afford a car. He brought her on camping trips, vacations, and I think that was enough for her. I think.
I totally agree. I was fascinated to hear about the ex-wives and girlfriends because I couldn't find a whole lot on them when I was delving in. But you are the investigative journalist, and I do books. So she was delighted to read about that. And I saw what you're saying, the consistency in some of the things that they were saying, which filled in a few gaps, but also confirmed a lot of what I was thinking and what you are obviously seeing.
Yeah. And I think because that was one thing that was really interesting to me because, speaking to him for 2 years, having this ongoing communication with him, I was curious to see, okay, does he treat all women like this? I really wanted to just see if I could find out as much as possible about how he was with other women and, things that he was saying. I thought it was interesting. It was almost like it's been on a loop the past 50 years where he's telling women, oh, you're going to get raped and killed. And because that was something that came up, I was listening to witness statements from former girlfriends, and they had said the same thing, that he would warn them of these horrible things that can happen. Now, I don't know if he was as detailed with them as he was with me, but still, I mean, the idea was there that he was always kind of saying. So it's almost like his mind has been on this loop, which I found really fascinating.
Oh, I agree. For me, I had to stop and put the book down because he's telling you, be careful. You can be raped. You can be murdered. Yep. While he's thinking about raping and murdering you.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically. And it's so manipulative because at the time I'm like, could he have any sort of concern? And I'd be like, no, I don't think, because then it's it's one thing if someone says, oh, you better be careful and, it's dangerous out there. You're a woman alone. Okay, it's one thing to say that. But then when he starts describing in detail what could happen and the level of just graphic detail that he's spewing, that's when I was, okay, this is abnormal. This is not the typical, because it almost come off in a way fatherly, oh, be careful. And then even he would call me, did you eat dinner today? Are you okay? And he would seem so concerned for my well-being, but then it would kind of morph into this, go in this other direction. And I'd be like, oh no, that's really whatever he's thinking. It's just really graphic and horrifying.
Yes, his obsession. I mean, he's a serial killer. We're not really surprised that he's obsessed with sex and violence and fantasy life. That's kind of comes with the definition. But it's the way he was presenting it to you.
Right, exactly.
And objectifying you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in a way that, again, he would try to act like it's out of concern and it's out of care and he's my friend and oh, he loves me. He tell me he loves me. And I'm just wow, like it's just so convoluted. Like the whole experience just became,
Hey, I do believe that you became an important piece, a center, because he's in prison, has nothing else.
right.
So that became important.
Yes.
You as an individual, as a person, as a woman, no.
No,
But
no,
you were an outlet,
absolutely.
someone real, something new. He's been thinking
Right.
about, the same fantasy life, since he got locked up in 2003. 2001, he was arrested. So here we are. It's 2026. That's a kind of a long time.
Yeah. And I do believe, building a rapport with him, I do think that mattered. The fact that I was willing to just really listen to him, because I know like there's some reporters and journalists who, all they want are the gory details and that's all they want to focus on is the murder. I knew not to do. I mean, he kind of, I guess, warned me in a sense that that's not something he likes when, journalists do that. Right. And, it almost came off in a way that if I had done that, he might not have spoken to me. So I kind of had to read between the lines with him and really tried to understand like what he was saying, like even though he wasn't saying it directly. And I do think he probably would have cut off communication if I did not give him that control. So the fact that I was willing to allow him to control the conversations, what we talked about, the fact that I was willing to listen, I was not there to judge him. And, I really do believe like I did show him kindness and that wasn't fake. I'm a pretty genuine person, I think. So the fact I showed him kindness, I did not judge him. I listened, wholeheartedly listened. And I think that maybe mattered to him on some level because for so long, I think all he has received from the outside world, people who write him letters mostly, or writers especially, they're judgmental. They just want to know about the murders, right? So I was curious to know about the whole person, right? Like, okay,
Yes.
What else is there to you besides that? But I think what I found is there's really not a lot other than, because the violence it was always at the core of our conversations.
Yeah,
So.
he could not move away with it.
Because he always wanted to try to prove to me, I felt like that he's a decent person and no, he's not as bad. Because he wanted me to like him. He wanted me to trust him. Just always came back to these violent ideas. And it didn't matter that he was trying to say he had concern for me. And because, again, he was just so descriptive. Like he would write me, I remember getting a letter from him that was like 10 pages long. And it was a list of all of these horrific like fantasy, like just like, oh, this is what could happen to you. And he like detailed all these different scenarios.
Oh my God. That's us reading through the lines. These are the things that could happen to you. Be careful. These are the things I really want to do to you right now as I'm talking to you.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you knew this.
And that was terrifying,
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I'd want a serial killer in my head like that. I was asked one time, you're interested in serial killers. Have you ever written to any? Mm-hmm. And I was like, haven't done that. I'm not going to say never. So I give you credit. That's why I was really glad to read your book, because I do give you credit for putting on the emotional shields, or womanning up, I should say, putting on the emotional shields and being willing to delve into this, to see, ultimately figuring out the truth versus the manipulations that he's spinning.
Right. And so I mean, that was the thing that was driving me, I think, always, because initially when I had first started communicating with him, he had brought up to me that he's responsible for killing more than the 49. And he had told me a range of 81 to 91 in total, which like that's hard to wrap my head around that. But that was one of the things that he wanted my help with, was to try to solve these cases and get information about them. So that was like the beginning of my correspondence with him. And I had compiled a list of about 32 or more cases that I thought, well, maybe he could be responsible for these. But the thing is, a lot of those cases, bodies were never found. So it's really difficult to prove cases like that. But then there were the two that I mentioned in my book, Nicole French and Sarah Habakangas, where their bodies were found. And their cases are extremely similar to the pattern of all the other Green River cases. So I started to really go down a rabbit hole with that. And, he had even said to me too, if a woman who is involved in sex work is found strangled to death, right, in a location where he had put other victims, then he said they're all his, then they have to be his, they're his. And he gave me this really, I understand it's a vague kind of confession, but when you look at the cases of Nicole French and Sarah Habakangas, who they were found within the same vicinity as a lot of his other victims. There were several victims found in the North Bend area. So that immediately made me question, right, whether or not he could be responsible. And it took me a while to get all of the information, whatever I could. I had to get the family's approval for the autopsy reports. And then I was able to then contact the medical examiner of one of the cases. He was willing to speak with me. And he said the same thing. He couldn't think of any reason why Gary would not be a suspect because he had worked other Green River cases and he said it fit the same pattern. And when I started to go deeper and deeper into this, and he had told me, the medical examiner, that DNA would still be on file, especially with Nicole French's case, because there was a ligature that was found. He had used her sweatpants to strangle her. And that's also very similar to when you think of Wendy Caulfield in the Green River,
Yes.
Same thing, right? And, it wasn't unheard of for him to leave the ligatures tied around their necks like that. So that right there, that's, a factor. She was found naked. One thing that struck me later on when I was going through his entire interrogation, and he had mentioned that his victims, a lot of them would probably have scratches on their backside, on their butt, because he was dragging them through the woods. And Nicole French's autopsy shows that.
Yeah.
That she did have scratches on her back. And, these were things that they didn't seem to be brought up to him during the interrogation, that detail from the autopsy. But, that was something that he did say. And then there was also speculation that she could have been tied up. And that was one of the things that the police were trying to say ruled him out at the time, because there wasn't evidence that he had done that to other victims. But when you think about what he had done to girlfriends and wives, where he did have a fixation with tying them up, who knows, right? I mean, it's not so far, left field that he would do something like that. Yeah. And then the piece of rope that they found was the same from his truck. So it's there are all these things that point to him. And, King County Sheriff's Office, they would not work with Othram, and for whatever reason. Yeah, for whatever reason.
Full disclosure, I love Othram. I've talked with Kristen Middleman and David Middleman at CrimeCon. My booth on Creators Row is right across from Othram. We have had numerous conversations. These two people are brilliant.
Yes. And they were willing to help.
They're always willing to help. Their machine, whatever it does, it's space shuttle to me. 6 cells. 6.
Yeah.
That's it. Holy mackerel. I will help you. Let us look at this. And they're,
Yeah. They just said, it's a open investigation. We don't need your help at this time. But thank you.
Honey, this is a cold case, and cold case, you need to bring everybody in around the table who wants to participate.
Exactly. When that infuriated me to no end. And then that made me question, well, is the evidence for some reason no longer on file? So then my mind started to go there where okay, what are they trying to hide something?
In my vast knowledge of the way police work, there are some departments that just have the blinders on and it's theirs and they're going to do it in their own good time. Right. And when their budgets allow, they want to do it themselves. It's the 21st century, man. We can fix this. We can solve this. Right. Or at least we can answer this question.
Right. Because if it wasn't him, then at least, okay, then we know it's not him.
Right. Gary, from what I have read, you've talked to him. he would do different things to bodies, to remains, so that his MO was not identical. Deliberately. The one poor woman, he set her hair on fire. Some of them, he would place rocks inside them. Others, he did not do that. So why wouldn't he tie one up to throw them off, which looks to me like it's been very effective in Kings County.
Yeah. And I mean, tying up women, again, not out of the norm for him. It's something he enjoyed doing. He did that to former girlfriends. He did that to one of his ex-wives. So it wasn't like so far out in left field. Like, you also have to remember these cases happened during the 90s. So I think by that point, with serial killers, it's like they need more and more things to excite them and they get bored. And I think they like to increase the excitement as much as they can. So I think he maybe would end up tying up women by that point. You know, I don't think it's so out of the norm for him. And I don't think that should have been something that, we're writing him, especially when it was the same type of rope they found in his truck.
Well, that to me was kind of a clincher. I mean, I would have to look into it. I know their budgets aren't where they would like them to be, especially testing DNA, especially cold cases. They have a mountain of files on their desks that they're investigating. This happened yesterday. I have to look into the thing from last week. And, and you're talking back in the 90s. But nevertheless, somewhere on someone's desk, there is a file of these two women.
Yes.
And it's open and it's active. That's good to know. But you have this tool.
Right.
Use it.
Right. And the fact that they were willing to help, and I'm pretty sure, like, I took that as, like, they weren't even going to charge them for it. I had explained, it was a Green River case, and I explained the whole thing, like, why I thought he could be responsible, and yeah, they still wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, it was a very frustrating process dealing with the current detectives over there.
Well, I'll try to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that they're overworked and underpaid and understaffed and budgets have been cut and all of this. But like you said, it's very frustrating. You've done all this extensive work,
right,
all this research.
And they want to get on the phone with me. That's the thing, too. Like, here I am, I'm telling them, I spoke with Gary Ridgway for 2 years. You think they'd want to know, like, what he told me?
Yeah, let's have a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Like, that way, like, we could put our heads together, maybe, and maybe there's something he told me that could be useful. I don't know, right?
Right. Well, yes.
They wouldn't, but the former Green River Task Force members, a couple of them were willing to speak to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting because I think they understood the way Gary operates because they had dealt with him. And I think they were a little bit more willing to listen to what I said. But again, I mean, they only have so much power because they're retired.
Yeah.
So, so they really couldn't do much except give me some sort of pointers, I guess, if you will, or, their advice, their opinion on things. But when it came to like retesting evidence, doing anything like that, I don't think they had much power or say in that, from what I understand.
Yeah. Well, that's really a shame.
Yeah.
That's a shame. There's a tool here that they are not using. And Othram is an amazing tool.
Yeah, I really don't know the reason. I mean, there's so many things that have been said and things I found in my research. I mean, one of the things that was said during his interrogation was that the list of his victims, right, his kill list, if you would want to call it that, they had said it was politically motivated to stay at 49. I don't know exactly what that means. It's almost like they didn't want there to be more, a higher number of victims.
Well, like I said, he was the suspect in 1982. Mm-hmm. He's arrested 19 years later.
Right, exactly.
And because the DNA popped on, I think it was 4 victims.
Yeah. Initially.
So when they couldn't nail him from 82, 92, we're going through all of this. I don't want to say it makes them inept because you have to have the evidence. If you don't have the evidence, you can have all the suspicions that you want in the world.
Right.
But you have to make this thing stick and you get one shot.
Exactly. And that's what actually one of the members of the Green River Task Force, he did tell me that they really believed it was him in 87, but they didn't want to risk like charging him with anything because they didn't have enough evidence and they were afraid that he would walk and then that would be it. So I understand that part. I do. But when they said to him, it was politically motivated to say at 49. Meanwhile, he's sitting there telling them, well, I think I killed more, right? And so that makes me question. I don't know.
Never mind. Nine's a good number.
Yeah, like I mean, they were like, okay, 82 to 85, and kind of ignoring. And there were other victims, right, that were found. I don't know. I mean, that to me is always suspicious. I really don't know. I like to believe, the best in them, but at the same time, I think there might have been authorities beyond them, beyond like the detectives that, maybe they didn't want their reputation to be ruined. I don't know.
I don't know. Like I said, unless the journal pops up somewhere on auction, we're probably never going to know the inside workings there.
Right. Gary, he said the same thing, and I hate to agree with him, but, he had said, well, how come like they were just content with, the 49, right? And, he believed, he said, well, maybe, they didn't want Washington State to be, the serial killer capital of the country. I said, I mean, who knows?
I think that horse is out of that barn.
Right.
Nothing against Washington, but the Northwest, it's slowed down. They're not producing as many serial killers as they used to. Yay!
That's good.
Oh my gosh. Hey, we are still number one in the world producing our serial killers. They're trying to catch up elsewhere. I'm totally teasing. People
I
saying,
know.
but I mean, you have to find your gallows humor.
The GLP-1 pill you've been waiting for is now on Ro. Yep, it's finally here. With the same clinically proven ingredient, now in a pill, and now on Ro. It's the first FDA-approved GLP-1 pill for weight loss at the lowest price available. That's one daily GLP-1 pill for big results. Now on Ro. Go to ro.co/listen to see if you qualify. RX only. Go to ro.co/safety for serious side effects and boxed warning associated with GLP-1s.
Listen, what was your biggest takeaway from this that you brought with you out of this?
Do you mean like pertaining to like him as like a...
I need life lessons as a journalist, as a writer.
Well, I think one of the takeaways would be that the truth is not always what it seems to be. And yeah, I mean, I think that when it comes to the truth I would say in any case, especially this case, you have to be able to maybe look between the lines. And I do think that as much as he lied, which I do think he lied a lot, I think he's a pathological liar. I think at the same time, you could still find fragments of truth within those lies, even if it's a truth about the type of person he is and his psychology. So I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways. It's not black and white. And I think there's a lot to be learned, even if someone like him, you're interviewing, a serial killer, even if they're not being truthful, which I feel, of course, they're not going to be truthful. There's still a lot that could be deciphered from what they are saying.
The lies, the construction of the lies themselves are revealing.
Yes, absolutely.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I think, it allowed me, I feel like I see the world a lot differently now. And I hate to say, I mean, I don't, not that I was ever super like trusting of people. I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn, so that's always been like, I'm not someone that's so naive. And I do have street smarts, I would say, to a degree, just because of where I grew up. But I definitely I feel like I question people's motives a lot more now than what I did before. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I was born in New Jersey, so I have a little bit of that. New York kind of splashes over on us over in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I hope if people are doing true crime that they are very situationally aware.
Yes.
I'm like swiveling as I walk through Walmart parking lot. Is anyone following me? Is anyone near me? Is anyone approaching me? Is there a car rolling by me? How many of those videos have we seen on a million of shows?
Right.
Yeah,
and like he would like drill this stuff into my brain. There were times when he knew my schedule because I also teach college. So, he knew the nights that I would work, and sometimes he would call me before class or after class, and I'd be on the phone with him, like sometimes walking to my class, and I'm telling him, oh, I just parked. He's like, oh, are you in a parking garage? And like he would start to, and I'd be like, oh my God, and like it was just such like a, I'm on the phone with the serial killer who's telling me, I'm going to get raped and killed in this parking garage. It just became very intense. And it did make me, I think, a lot more paranoid, over time. Like a lot of what he was saying to me would kind of just get in my head,
Oh, yeah, that's got to be a little terrifying. Were you dreaming?
Yeah, I had a lot of nightmares of him. I would say, yeah, like when I was in close communication with him, I was having a lot of nightmares. It was interrupting my sleep. I wasn't sleeping. And then definitely when I was writing, like actively writing this book, I was lucky if I was getting like 3-4 hours of sleep at night, just because I was having to then relive all of the conversations, everything he had told me, because I would be listening to my tapes with him until like the sun came up, just listening to them over and over and over, making sure like I really understood what he was saying, or transcribing them, pulling quotes that I wanted to use for the book. So it was just on a constant repeat at that point. And that I feel like I wasn't, like during that period, probably was only sleeping 3-4 hours a night. It really was impacting me. Yeah.
Are you okay?
Thank you for asking. I'm okay. It took me a little while to be okay. I mean, I'll be honest. I wasn't immediately okay after all of that, with a really good therapist that I had, and just really reflecting on the experience and just really like putting the pieces together. I think writing this book made me like be okay, to be honest.
Oh, good. Writing, I think, even journaling, not for publication, but writing down your ideas, your thoughts, I think that helps a lot. But in all good conscience, I just had to ask.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, it was a lot. He was not an easy person to correspond with by any means.
Well, thank you for enduring that, because people who really want to understand how these guys think should read your book. When will it be available for everybody?
July 21st. So July 21st, it comes out. It's available for pre-order right now.
Confessions of the Green River Killer, a true story of manipulation, madness, and the search for justice.
I would encourage everyone to go grab a copy on pre-order. And I'm going to be doing a little book tour, probably. So my book launch is going to kick off in Brooklyn, New York. And then I'm planning to go to the West Coast. I haven't figured all of that out just yet, the logistics, but I'm planning to, be out there for a little bit over the summer. And yeah, I'll be posting where I am.
Well, if you're in Philadelphia, let me know.
I may pass through there because that's close to where I am. So yeah.
Oh, please. That would be so nice. I'd love to sit down, have a coffee, and never mention the word serial killer.
That might be hard, considering what we both do.
Yeah, it's one of these side effects of your job. I didn't know if you wanted to get into the box or not.
We could talk about that, because that's one of the things that, he never confessed that to anyone else, like in terms of, law enforcement. So the fact that he told me about that, I do think it's real. But, just I guess to give your listeners a sense of what we're talking about. So he had admitted to me that he had buried a box of evidence containing photographs of some of his victims, notebooks in which he recorded some of the conversations that he had with them before he murdered them. Also, just any detail that he remembered of his victim. And then he also said there were motel keys in there, key emblem from one of his victims' cars, a baseball cap from one of his victims. So there was a lot of stuff, within this box that he claims to have buried somewhere in a park in Washington. And he gave me these clues as to where it could be. Of course, he didn't tell me the name of the park, right? Of course, he wouldn't.
Not.
Again, to give him the benefit of the doubt, though, the reason maybe he didn't tell me that is because there were always officers within earshot. And I think that might have been part of it, just giving him the benefit of the doubt a little bit there. I don't know. I really don't know. But he did give me some clues as to where this park could be. And I compiled a list of probably, I would say, 17 parks that I thought really matched the descriptions of what he was telling me. And a couple of years after I had, my communication with him ended, I had told one of the former members of the Green River Task Force, and he believed that it existed because this had come up. You see, this is the thing. It had come up during Gary's interrogation when they were interviewing him for those 6 months. And he had told them that he did take pictures of some of his victims. They were Polaroids that he took. But he swore to them that he ripped up the pictures, and they never believed him. Because they didn't think that he would throw away. It's almost like souvenirs, right? These women became to be his possessions, that's how he looked at them. This was really sick, but that is how he looked at them, they were his, they belonged to him. So they never believed that he threw out the pictures, but he never told them where he put them. So he started to tell me this, and that's why, I do believe it exists, just because, they really believed it existed. And then when I asked Gary, I said, well, why would you hold on to this? And he said it was his get out of death penalty card, because he knew, if they brought any other case, to him because of his plea agreement, then he thought that he could just then show, oh, look, I have these pictures, that maybe they would have then, taken the death penalty off the table again. So he looked at it as kind of like a bargaining chip in a way. That's what he told me.
Makes sense.
It does. And I do think it exists. I mean, I know he probably would not want to throw away pictures of women that he killed. And I also know he really loves making lists. He would do that, even in his letters to me, there would be a list of things. And, he'd come to the phone with a list of things that he wanted to talk to me about. Right. So he's very big on lists. So, I believe that he would have notebooks full of lists of, women he killed in details.
That behavior is consistent.
It is. 100%.
It is. And I'm sorry, serial killers do not throw away their souvenirs.
Oh.
Dennis Rader didn't throw away his souvenirs. Rex Heuermann didn't throw away his souvenirs. The man had 50 hotel keys. That Gary says he had hotel keys. Boy, does that have a ring of truth to it. I think it's likely true.
I do too. But the thing is, so when I went out to Seattle, one of my friends, she flew out there to meet me for a couple of days. And, we tried to do this ourselves, which, it's not really practical. I mean, I'm not that big of a person. And neither is she. And we had metal detectors and a shovel. And I mean, we tried to dig up one of the parks, but it's a lot harder than it seems. And the thing is, when I told the former member of the task force about this, he was all we need to find it. And, we were kind of working together. But then when it came to the detectives currently, they didn't quite believe that this box existed. So they held off for a really long time searching it. And I know I think they went and they spoke to Gary about it. But at this point, he's not in the best of health. I don't know how much he really remembers that, or I don't know. I also don't think he wants to tell them. I think that was also a big part of it. Like he told me he never wanted the law enforcement to know about it. That's why he told me. And I don't know. I don't know how much effort was actually placed on like actually looking for it. You know,
One of those things in 100 years, they'll be digging up something and say, what the heck is this thing?
you can only hope, because the thing is that it could potentially help solve other cases.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. And that's what, Gary was telling me, that there were pictures of victims that maybe had not been identified, that he felt like those pictures could potentially lead to solving a case. And member of the Green River Task Force, who I told, he also believed that. So there was like across the board, we all kind of agreed that, yeah, if this thing is found, then it could lead to, closure for victims' families, which, that would be amazing. But I feel like the current detectives, maybe like they don't understand the way Gary like operates, because they haven't had much experience with him,
Right.
because they feel like, oh, he's just full of shit on everything. And like, while that is true, I mean, it could be true, but I still think it's worth maybe giving more attention to it. And they have the tools and equipment,
Well, they know about it. I can't help thinking that's old news. He's in jail.
Yeah.
What are we going to do with this?
Right.
Few files. I just think they're just not into it.
Yeah,
That's
which
a
is
shame.
sad. It's really sad, because I think every single one of those women on that list who have not been identified, who have not, like those cold cases, they deserve some form of justice,
Absolutely. It's not right, because they take an oath to defend, protect everybody.
Right.
Even people who died 30 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever.
Right.
And they all deserve to have a name and be identified. And their families deserve to know what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, good luck at everything you do. And I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this.
Yes, thank you for having me on.
Well, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Maria DiLorenzo about her new book, Confessions of the Green River Killer, a true story of manipulation, madness, and a search for justice. I think we gave you a pretty good idea of what her book entails. And I did tell her that it is absolutely marvelous and disturbing, because it is, because you are delving into some very dark places in the mind of a serial killer. Now I will be back shortly with a new episode. Thank you for listening. I truly appreciate you joining me on this journey through some of the best true crime books. If you enjoy the podcast, please share it and leave a 5-star review. As usual, my sources, photographs, and other information are found on my blog. You can contact me at jill@murdershelfbookclub.com or connect with me on X, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Additionally, you can join my Patreon for $2 to $4 a month and help choose the next book I'll feature. And I am doing my serial killer case studies. Next episode will be out shortly. I see you as you hear me. Written and produced by Jill, all rights reserved. Music, The Pewter Elephant by Blue Dot Sessions.